Hello fantasy managers, and welcome back to another video from myself, Will, and fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. There's been a few changes to my team, so I thought I'd do an updated draft for you guys. Let's get into it. Okay, before we get into it, if you have been enjoying this preseason content, been trying really hard to get a lot of content out for you guys, then please do like this video and subscribe to the channel. I've got a goal of reaching 25,000 subscribers by Gameweek 1 deadline, which I think is a little bit ambitious. But if you have been enjoying this content and you want to see more FPL content, then please do subscribe to the channel with those notifications turned on. So I've had a lot of people asking if I'm going to be revealing my final team, and the answer is yes, if this video gets over 1,000 likes. So I've never had a video get over 1,000 likes, so it is a little bit of an ambitious ask. Been trying to really get out high quality videos for you guys, so I hope you've been enjoying it. If you have, please do drop a like on the video, and please do subscribe with those notifications turned on as well. Okay, so this is my current draft. I've gone for 5-3-2. Obviously this is just for game week 1. Eagle eyes amongst you will notice that I got Fernandez on the bench. I'll come to my reasoning about why I've got Fernandez on the bench a little bit later in the video, but going to start off the back. I've gone for McCarthy between the sticks. I'm not going to go into great detail around why I've picked him. I've touched on that in previous videos. I've had him in my draft for the last couple of weeks. I did start off with Ramsdale, but I'm going to go for McCarthy. He's pretty much a lock in my team now, to be honest, so I'm not going to go into great detail around him. Same with Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's been in pretty much all my draft, so I'm not going to go into great detail around him. He's just a fantastic pick, got loads of point scoring routes, and I think that, you know, he's probably one of the best value players in the game. Kyle Walker-Peters, he's not been in many of my drafts, to be honest. So the way this particular team is set up is that Kyle Walker-Peters does work very well for my rotation, and I think he's a really good option. You know, he looks like he's going to be nailed on in that Southampton side. Southampton, as we've mentioned, have some really good opening fixtures, and at 4.5, he offers a little bit of an attacking threat. So I think he ticks all the boxes for what you want from a 4.5 defender. Okay, just to switch over to our brand new points projection tool, which is powered by massive data. So this thing is really accurate. I want to have a look at the first 5 game weeks. I'm also going to have a look at defenders, and I'm also going to change the price bracket here to 4.5. Let's go for 4.5 defenders. And as you can see, Justin coming out on top for the first 5 game weeks. One of the reasons that I've got Justin in my team, I think there are a lot of good 4.5 defensive options, but he's coming out very strong, looking like he's going to score a lot of points. Vinagre, again, another player that has been in pretty much all of my drafts. So these two, Justin and Vinagre, they've been in most of my drafts, to be honest. You know, over the last couple of weeks, I can't really see them moving out at this stage. Ayling from Leeds, I think he's a really good pick, and he's someone that I am very much strongly considering. He has been in some of my drafts. The reason that I don't have him currently is just that poor game week 1 fixture away to Liverpool. And at the moment, in that game week 1, I am looking to play 5 at the back. And part of the reason for that is I have Fernandez in my team. If I don't go for that Fernandez strategy, then I think Ayling could potentially find a way into my team. Next up, though, is Kyle Walker-Peters, and he does have a good game week 1 fixture against Crystal Palace away. I don't think Crystal Palace are particularly good at home, so I think he's got a half-decent chance of getting a clean sheet there. So that's partly why I've currently got Kyle Walker-Peters in my current draft. But I think, you know, if you are looking for some cheap budget defenders, then these are the guys that you want to be going for, really. I have had Mitchell in my team. I do think that he's a decent shout for 4.0. There is certainly, you know, a chance that he could find a way back into my team. But at the moment, I think there's a lot of value in the 4.5 range. And I've also gone for Doherty. You know, Spurs have some good opening fixtures, and one of the potential ways I can look to freeing up funds in the future is actually going Doherty to a 4.0. And I'm not entirely convinced that Mitchell is going to be the best 4.0. He could be the best 4.0, but, you know, downgrading Doherty to a guaranteed 4.0 starter after we know that, you know, they've played a few games in the Premier League, I think will be an interesting way of freeing up funds for the midfield and strike force. Moving back to the team then now, as I mentioned, I've gone for Doherty. I think that he is a brilliant pick. You know, Spurs have got some nice opening fixtures. He's obviously a very attacking player. Do I expect him to be as attacking for Mourinho as he was at Wolves? Probably not. But, you know, Mourinho does like to sort of play almost with a back 3. So Davis sort of tucks in as a 3, and the right back has a tendency to play very advanced. Doherty is obviously, he's very, very well suited to that role. And I think that's partly why he's been brought in. It doesn't look like Mourinho is at all interested in Aurier. So it looks like Doherty's going to be playing, going to be the main man at right back. The other player from Spurs that I have been very interested in and has been in a couple of my recent drafts is Davies. Now, he comes in a whole million cheaper than Doherty. So that million saving can be well spent elsewhere. And, Doherty obviously is going to be much more attacking, but he is, still going to be part of that Spurs backline. So if you're looking to save $1 million and free up a little bit of funds, then I think Davies is a great shout as well. Before we go on to midfielders and strikers, a cheeky plug for our brand new app. So that is a completely free download. If you do want to access the member resources that were featured in the video, though, you can become a Fantasy Football Hub member. 25% off membership in a preseason discount. That offer will end once Game Week 1 is over. So if you've been thinking about signing up, now is the time. You can access all of our resources on our app and, of course, on our website, including the OPTA data, our predictions tool, our comparison tool, team reveals, some top-ranked players, fixture analyzer, loads and loads of resources, all designed to help you dominate your mini league for the upcoming season. So if you are interested in that, we've got 25% off Hub membership. Please do see the link in the description and the information card above. Moving on to the midfield then, I'm not going to go into any great detail around Salah and Aubameyang. Those guys have been in pretty much every one of my drafts. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. I think that those two are some brilliant picks. I know Mane has been playing a little bit better than Salah in some of the preseason matches, but, Salah, for me, looking at the numbers last season, I think that he is still the one to own out of those two. So I'm very happy going with Salah over Mane and Aubameyang. Pretty much a lock in my team. Now, part of the reason, though, that I've got Fernandes in there is actually because I'm planning Aubameyang to De Bruyne in Game Week 3. So with that Aubameyang to De Bruyne or Sterling transfer in Game Week 3, I had also planned to bring Fernandes in Game Week 2, and if you've watched one of my previous drafts. But, Son to Fernandes, that's another transfer. So I'd basically got two planned transfers over the first couple of weeks, and it's just not ideal, to be honest, because this team, I know that there isn't going to be correct. So there are going to be players that I've missed, and there are going to be players that I want to jump on. So I'm effectively guaranteeing that I'm going to need to take a hit within the first couple of game weeks, and that's just not a position that I necessarily want to be in. So that's kind of why I've started with Fernandes. And I think that, starting with a United player on your bench does make a lot of sense. And Fernandes, for me, is the best one. Okay, so just to highlight this point and jumping on to the Fantasy Football Hub OPTA Stats tool, you can have a look there, and Fernandes, he is the highest scoring player over the back end of last season. So if you look at per appearance, and that is a stat that I do particularly like to look at, and you hide low minutes players, then, Fernandes is top there. He's on 8.21. You compare that to second place Sterling, for example. So I just think Fernandes is a fantastic player. He offers so many different routes to scoring points. You look at his expected points here. So this is sort of what he's expected to score according to expected stats. It's not as high as his actual points. So that's something that, you do need to consider. But nevertheless, 6.2, it's higher than the rest of United assets. So for me, I just think that he is the best United asset. And, he just got so many different routes to scoring points in terms of goals, expected goals, assists, and expected assists. So he really does have it all, along with penalties. I know that he's not sort of absolutely guaranteed penalties, but he looks like he's going to be the main penalty taker for United. So if you just switch over to the Fantasy Football Hub fixture ticker and you look at up to Game Week 10, let's go, and you start from Game Week 2 and sort by overall difficulty, and there you go, Manchester United have come out top. They've got an incredible run of fixtures. So for me, I really do want a United player. I want their main asset, and I think that is Fernandes. They got Crystal Palace, Brighton, Spurs, Newcastle, Chelsea at home, Arsenal at home, Everton, West Brom, Southampton. That's a brilliant run of fixtures. And if they can continue the form, or even a fraction of the form that they were in towards the end of last season, then I think their assets are going to be absolutely crucial. And I think there is a strong argument to be made that you could start with somebody like Son and then transfer in Fernandes. And that was my previous draft. I've always wanted Fernandes, but I was looking at Son to Fernandes. Okay, so if we switch over to our predicted points tool here, and now this was kind of why I'm currently starting with Fernandes, and I'm not starting with someone like Son. So if you switch to 10.5, so this is players within Fernandez's range, and you look at game week 1, so these are the players that are going to be highest scoring midfielders under 10.5 for game week 1. And as you can see, I had Son in there. Now, Son is predicted to score the most points for game week 1 for midfielders within that 10.5 bracket. So, interestingly, Son was a player that I went for before the predictions tool came out, and Son is being shown as to be the highest scoring player for game week 1. Now, he is predicted to score 4.3 points. I think potentially that's a little bit on the low side. I think that he could go on and score much higher than that. But, pretty much locking yourself into a hit game week 1, and Son is only predicted to score 4.3 points, then it's very, very difficult to see how you're going to make that hit back. Now, even if Son was predicted to score 6 points, I still think that, there isn't really a justification for not starting with Fernandez, because, you are going to have another player in your team, somebody like Kyle Walker-Peters will be playing instead of Son. Now, Kyle Walker-Peters' predicted points for the first game, I think, is around 2.5. So really, you've got to have a predicted points of above 6.5, and Son coming in with 4.3 just, isn't really doing it. So I think on balance, the logical thing to do is actually to start with Fernandez in your team. So therefore, you get Fernandez in your team game week 2. He's got a brilliant run of fixtures, which stretches a long way on. Now, if you want to look at, coming up game week 2 to let's go all the way out to game week 8, and Fernandez there, he comes top of the pile. Interestingly, you could go Rashford 9.5, he comes a close second, but on balance I think I feel more comfortable captaining Fernandez, for example, with those multiple point scoring routes. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that, so let me know in the comments whether you think that's a good strategy or you just think having a 10.5 player on your bench is complete madness. So moving on to the rest of the team now, I've got St. Maximin in there. I did have Souček for 0.5 cheaper. I still think that Souček is a great option, but it looks like he's been quarantined for coronavirus. Okay, so having a look at St. Maximin, and he's a player that I'm not completely convinced by, to be honest. He's one of those in my team that is a little bit on the edge. And the reasoning for this, and the reason I went Souček over him, is that, Souček is coming in cheaper. And as you can see, he's got much more of the key numbers that you're going to look for. I do think that Souček is probably the better pick. Now, I do think that Newcastle signing Callum Wilson will actually make him a better player, and hopefully there's somebody to finish off those chances. And, when you watch him, he does seem like a real player, and hopefully Newcastle got some good opening fixtures. West Ham away, Brighton at home to start the game weeks. I think that, at 5.5, he could be worth value. As I said, he's not a player that's sort of guaranteed in my team. I probably did want Souček, but with Souček being quarantined for coronavirus and unlikely to start game week 1, that's the reason I've currently got St. Maximin in my team. The other player, though, that I've been looking at from West Ham is Antonio. I think that he's a really good shout, and he's coming high up in our predicted points as well. I've currently gone for Mitrovic, saving 0.5, and I think the Fulham could be good opening doors. I think that later in the season, their sort of squad will tire, and they might even become the whipping boys. But I think opening season, they should have a lot of energy, and Mitrovic is going to be the spearhead of that attack. And I think that he's on penalties, he takes a hell of a lot of shots, so hopefully he can bag a few of them. And I think that he probably is underpriced a little bit at 6.0. So I quite like Mitrovic. Werner, I've talked a lot about him in previous videos. Not going to go into a huge amount of detail around him. He's a lock in my team. I think that he's a fantastic pick. Chelsea have got good fixtures. I think he's been massively underpriced. If you want to see my other underpriced players, then I'll leave a link in the description for that. If you want to see last season's overall winner, Joshua Bull's team, now I think that he's probably a player that you probably want to take a little bit of notice to. Then I'll leave a link in the description to his team as well if you haven't seen that video already. So on the bench, Button, Stephen and Davies, not players that are going to come close to my team. Obviously, one of those 5 backline players will be first on my bench, and I'm pretty happy, to have the likes of Kyle Walker-Peters, Vinagre or Justin first on my bench from game week 2 when Fernandez comes into my team. And that's it from me. If you do want to see my final draft, please make sure this video does hit 1,000 likes. If you do enjoy these videos, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye for now.